You've probably heard your whole life that your DNA is like this fixed blueprint, right? A set of instructions you're stuck with from birth. But what if I told you it's actually more like a dynamic script, and your life is the performance, with different scenes playing out every single day? Well, let's get into it. So that brings us to the big question, doesn't it? Is your DNA your destiny? Are you just living out a pre-written story that was locked in the moment you were conceived? That's what a lot of us have been led to believe, but the real science tells a way more interesting and a much more interactive story. The short answer is not really. See, the DNA code itself, that's just the beginning. The real magic, the thing that makes you you, is something called gene expression. It's all about which genes are turned on and which are turned off and when. Think of it like this. Your DNA is a massive library, but your destiny isn't about owning the library. It's about which books you decide to pull off the shelf and read each day. So here's our game plan. First, we're going to look at the incredible rhythm your genes follow over just one 24-hour day. Then we'll zoom way out and see how that whole process evolves over a lifetime. After that, we'll meet the conductors of this genetic orchestra. And finally, the best part. We'll talk about how you can actually pick up the baton and help conduct the music yourself. All right, let's start with a single day. You might not realize it, but your body is like this bustling city that never sleeps. And your genes are the workers, constantly clocking in and out on a super precise schedule. And this whole process happens incredibly fast. So it starts with a signal. That signal tells the cell to make a little copy of a gene's instructions. That's called transcription. That copy, the mRNA, is kind of like a memo sent from the main office. Then that memo gets read and translated into a protein, the actual worker that goes out and does a job. And get this, the whole thing, from the initial signal to the protein doing its thing, can take as little as 30 minutes. So who's in charge of this daily schedule? Well, the main conductor is your circadian clock. And it's not some big clock in your brain. It's actually a network of genes inside almost every single cell of your body, all working together. They create this feedback loop that cycles roughly every 24 hours, telling your other genes when to work and when to rest. This thing controls, well, pretty much everything. When you feel sleepy, when you get hungry, even how strong your immune system is. Now here's a number that is just staggering. It turns out that this daily circadian rhythm directly controls the activity of almost 40% of all our protein-coding genes. Just let that sink in. Nearly half of your genetic script is being directed every single day by the simple cycle of light and dark, of eating and not eating. It's absolutely huge. Okay, so if one day is like a single song, what does the whole album of your life sound like? Well, it's kind of like a grand symphony with completely different movements, from the quiet beginning to the crashing finale, each with its own unique genetic sound. And these are the major movements in that symphony. Your gene expression is anything but static. It makes these huge programmed leaps as we go from an embryo through the crazy growth of childhood, the hormonal chaos of puberty, into the stability of adulthood, and finally, through the gradual changes of aging. And the sheer volume of genes that are active every day changes dramatically. I mean, look at these numbers. As an infant, when you're growing and learning at an insane rate, your genetic activity is at its absolute peak. Then it kind of levels out when we're adults. And as we move into old age, things quiet down a bit, and the number of active genes tends to decline. What's really interesting is that what's driving these changes, well, that shifts too. Think about puberty. It's basically a hormonal tidal wave switching on whole new sets of genes. But once you're an adult, the biggest influencers become, well, you. It's your lifestyle choices, your diet, and that circadian rhythm we keep talking about. So what happens as we get older? Well, the science has a great term for it, epigenetic drift. Basically, it means the little chemical tags that tell our genes to turn on or off can start to get a little sloppy. The whole system becomes noisier. Imagine the conductor's been leading the orchestra for 70 years. Maybe their timing isn't quite as sharp. A few violins come in a bit late, a trumpet is a little off-key. That loss of precision, that noise, can make it harder for our bodies to repair themselves. Okay, we've been using this conductor metaphor a lot. So it's time to actually pull back the curtain and see who's really running the show at the molecular level. Who are these controllers of gene expression? Here are the four main players. At the very top, you've got epigenetics. Think of this as the master switchboard for your entire genome. Then you have transcription factors. These are like the individual light switches for specific genes. We've already met the circadian clock, our trusty timekeeper. And finally, and this is a big one, all of this is influenced by environmental inputs, signals from your food, your stress, your sleep, your life. And that brings us to what is, for my money, the most exciting and empowering part of this entire story. If gene expression is so dynamic, so responsive, can we actually influence it? Oh yeah, a resounding yes. Let's see how. First, we need to get one thing straight. There's a huge difference between gene editing and gene expression. Gene editing, like CRISPR, is heavy-duty construction. It's a lab technology that literally goes in and rewrites the DNA code. But gene expression modulation, that's not about rewriting the script. It's about being the director and deciding which actors get the spotlight. And that's something you have a say in with your everyday choices. This is the key takeaway. You, yes, you, can be a conductor of your own genetic orchestra. How? Through epigenetics. Every meal you eat, the way you sleep, how you handle a stressful day, all of those things are sending signals that place little chemical marks on your DNA, telling your genes to either speak up or stay quiet. You really do have a hand on the conductor's baton. And this isn't some abstract idea. We're talking about real compounds in the food you eat. You know, the sulforaphane you get from broccoli, the curcumin from turmeric, even the resveratrol from grapes. These compounds are literally sending messages to your genome, helping to tune the activity of your genes in really beneficial ways. It's amazing. So if you remember just one thing, let it be this. Your genes, they provide the script. It's the story you were handed at birth. But your choices, your environment, your daily rhythms, that's your direction. You are the director of your own genetic show, every single day. So as you go about the rest of your day, as you decide what to eat, when to go to bed, remember that you're constantly sending messages to your DNA. You're influencing the story it tells. So the real question is, what story are you going to direct today?